Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us and learning about the Summer Food Service Program at libraries. My name is Leran Minc. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator here at the Child Nutrition Outreach Program, which is hosted at Project Bread and funded by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So just briefly what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to go over an introduction of the program. There are a few of the best practices I've learned from visiting libraries and speaking to librarians from last summer. I'll share a few case studies, and then Stephanie from the Palmer Library share her experience from last summer operating a fantastic summer site. Then our fantastic partners at the Massachusetts Library System, April and Christi, will share some resources that they can provide, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion. So just briefly about the program, to give you a little context, in Massachusetts, over 200,000 youth live in food insecure households. So low-income families often rely on school meals to bridge gaps in their budget. And we often hear from teachers and other school officials that at the end of the school year, when other kids are very happy, as you would expect for the school year to be done and for summer to be starting, there's always a handful of kids who seem a little distraught or unhappy. And when you ask them what's the issue, often you'll get the answer that they don't know where their meals are going to be coming during the summer, that during the school year, they've been relying on school lunch and often school breakfast. And that support is not there in the same way during the summer. The Summer Food Service Program is a federally funded nutrition program. It's been around since the 70s and is designed for that purpose of filling that gap. But it's very underused. In our state, we have about 1 out of 5 kids who are food insecure actually utilizing the program. So our hope with reaching out to libraries and other sites is to increase the places that kids can access these meals and also to recruit other people to promote the program to ensure that as many kids as possible can access the meals they need during the summertime. So how this happens is that the USDA provides funding to our state agency, the Department of Elementary and Secondary, and then through that agency, then they provide funding to local sponsors. Local sponsors run the program in the community. They are responsible for either making and delivering the meals or to working with vendors to provide those meals. U.S. libraries will be operating as sites. And I have the slide up so you can know a little bit more about the program, but almost entirely libraries are open sites. So open sites are places that are eligible based off of various USDA rules. So either the poverty level in that census tract or by the number of kids in the school that are in that nearby area that are getting free or reduced price meals. And so the reason that we say libraries are often open sites is because if you're a closed site, you have to have some sort of enrollment. So that's typically been like a summer camp where you have applications and you can guarantee that on any given day, more than half the kids are those same kids that are free and reduced eligible. But as an open site, you don't have to have an application. There's no IDs, no questions asked. If a kid is 19 or younger than 19, then they can receive a meal. So that makes it really ideal for a library because even though you have fantastic summer programming, you can't guarantee that the same kid is going to come every single day. So for the sites that we reached out to from Project Bread are eligible. If you received information about this webinar in another venue, get in touch with us and we can let you know if your library is in an eligible area. So just wanted to give a little bit of an idea of the eligible potential that we have. So those green areas are where libraries operated in 2016 as a summer meal site. All those yellow dots represent libraries that are eligible in 2017. So even if a small percentage of those libraries became sites, that would be a great benefit. So wanted to share a few of the best practices we found from working with library sites in the last few years. First thing is that staffing matters. You're going to work with your sponsor, and some communities are able to provide staff or provide support staffing, but there's a large range of how sponsors, how much capacity sponsors have. So as a kind of a base assumption, I recommend thinking about what your library can do to provide staffing. And the bare minimum for the program is to have a site supervisor who is checking in when kids are tallying kids when they receive the meals, and also enforcing some of the basic rules the USDA sets up for the program. But beyond that, we'll get to programming in a moment, but additional staffing makes it easier to conduct programming. Also makes it easier to do outreach. So if you have other kids and families in the library or nearby at that time, you can more easily bring them into that program. So even if your sponsor is able to provide staffing, having any sort of staffing available from the library really makes the program more successful. And when I say staffing, I don't just mean your paid staff. You can also think about this as volunteers, interns, summer students who are working at the library for any sort of number of programs. So think broadly about that, but whoever you can get to staff a meal site, the better off it will be. And on that note, we've also noticed that teen staffing is a really big benefit in a lot of ways. The primary way is that unfortunately there's a lot of stigma in this program and other child nutrition programs among teens. They view it as kind of a kids program and it's designed for younger kids, or they just think it's a little kind of demoralizing to accept this charity. But we don't view it that way. We view it as an opportunity for them to receive the meals they need to have a productive and happy summer. But by having teen staff, it's easier to recruit other teens in the program. And at the bare minimum, that teen staff is able to eat the meal. So we highly encourage, if you already have teens working at your library over the summers, or if there's a local program you can partner with to recruit teen staff, it's a great benefit to the program all around. Signage is also very important. This is more so in other types of sites, but still at a library, having signage makes it easier for people to know what's going on and where to access the meal if they came for the summer food service program. And this goes back to reducing that stigma. If people are coming for a meal and are nervous about being stigmatized, by having signage, they can go directly to the location they need to be rather than having to ask around for it. And signage is also great outside of your library to make sure that the community knows the great service you're providing and also where to go to receive those meals. Programming, this is where libraries really shine. We found that as much as some families need these meals, that going to a meal site for the meal alone is often not enough of an incentive. By having programming, children and teens and their parents know that they're going to get some sort of enrichment, they're going to get another benefit, and they're going to receive a meal. So we highly encourage programming. Programming also helps you with one of those USDA rules, which is the congregate feeding rule, which says that kids must eat the meals on site. And that is for a number of different reasons, but by having programming, it's a lot easier to keep those kids and teens at your library during meal times, and it also makes it more exciting for them to come back. So when I say programming, I also mean that pretty broadly. There's no requirement for programming, and you can do something very simple. Some libraries just do like a movie screening. So if you have a projector and a space to do a movie, that's pretty simple, and you're still going to get a lot of people coming for that. But also, if you're already doing programming like story times or interactive, like STEM projects that some libraries are doing, continue using your existing programming and just advertise that a meal will be provided after the programming. Choosing the right location, this is both a logistical consideration, but also a great way to maximize the program. So if you're concerned about food inside your library, but you have outdoor space, then having your meal outdoors is a great way around that. But also making sure that the meal is in a location that's going to be very public. because by having a public location, again, you're reducing that stigma. People know there's a meal site, they know what's going on. There's not a question about what the activity is in some back room of your library. They know that's a place where they can receive this valuable resource. So we highly encourage outdoor. We encourage more of a public location, but also we understand the logistical challenges of having a meal at the library. So wherever you're most comfortable with having a meal site, it's better to have that meal site where it's going to be easy on you than not having a meal site at all. Meal times is also very important to consider, especially with teens. If you have it early in the morning, you're not going to have as much participation. So we encourage doing programming first and then having the meal time after. That way, if people are late to the programming or teens during the summer might be sleeping in, they can still come and access that meal towards the end of your programming. Also, with meal times, the program, as I said, is very flexible. So you can serve up to 2 meals. And when I say 2 meals, I'm including breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, and evening, so supper. So you can serve a combination of any of those 2 meals if your sponsor is providing those, except for lunch and dinner. And so why I mention this is that you can also consider having those 2 meals in order to maximize how many kids you're able to serve. If you have a lot of programming and you have a lot of morning programming, you can serve breakfast beforehand and then lunch after. Or if you do evening programming, there's not a lot of sites that serve dinner. So if your sponsor is able to do that, that's also a great benefit to your community. The other thing to consider about meal times is that there's not a set meal window. So if you have very limited staffing, you could even do a meal site over 30 minutes. Or to get in touch with as many families as possible, you can do a 2 or 3 hour window. So ideally, we recommend the longer window to get as many kids as possible. But we also understand some of the challenges you face. So if in the first summer you want to serve your meal 1 day a week for half an hour, that's a good start, and that's a way to pilot your program. So remember that the program is pretty flexible in this regard, and think about what's best for you and what's best for you in this first summer. Then communications and outreach. We can't stress this enough. By doing as much outreach as possible, especially in your first summer, you can really ensure that your community knows that there is this resource at your library. This is where we can help a lot. We provide all sorts of technical assistance, but we also do a lot of work specifically about outreach. So we have a lot of materials that you can order free of charge. Just get in touch with us and we can show you all the various posters and flyers and bookmarks we have. And in that regard, I wanted to really stress the Summer Eats app. A lot of our materials promote various ways to get in touch to learn about meal sites. So whether or not you, in fact, become a site this summer, you can still promote the Summer Meal Service Program, Summer Food Service Program. So one way that's really great for libraries is we've recently designed a bookmark. On that bookmark, it has our Summer Eats app, which is a mobile meal finder app for Apple and Android. And so even if your library does not serve meals or serves meals once a week, then your patrons can find other meal sites in the community by going to this app. In addition, there's also a text service that your patrons can use to find meal sites, and a phone number where they can call our food stores hotline to find sites. And also our website has a meal finder map. So a lot of ways that your patrons can find additional sites in your community, or sites if your library, for one reason or another, does not become part of a program. So we really encourage thinking about outreach for your site and also how you can promote other sites in your community. And finally, we also really stress any sort of potential for cross-promoting programs. If you are doing story time at a farmer's market, for example, that's a great opportunity to share with the patrons at your library that you're doing story time. And if, for example, that farmer's market is serving meals, to share that information, or to let patrons at the farmer's market know that you serve meals on Wednesdays or 3 days a week or 5 days a week, whatever might apply. But a great way to really make sure that you're reaching as many people as possible. So I just wanted to share a few of the case studies that were not able to join us on this call. Peabody Institute Library, I really recommend learning a little bit more about their program if you're interested. They are kind of our senior library for the summer food service program. They've been around, I believe, about 5 years, and have done really a great job of maximizing programming. And they have given us the feedback that they feel that they wouldn't be able to maximize their programming if they did not have this meal. By having this meal, they feel like a lot better about attracting kids to be at their library for several hours during the summer, because that way we're also feeding those kids. One also really innovative program that they did with a partnership with their Parks and Rec department in their city is a program called Rebound and Read. So they have kids, middle school age kids, so again, attracting that harder to reach middle school and teenage population. And they get together, they read a book that's required for school that year, and then have a meal, and following that meal, they go and play basketball with the rec department. So those kids might be there for the meal, they might be there for the reading, or they might be there for basketball, but they get all three benefits of that summer learning, that meal, and also some recreation. So it's a really great combination of all the things we're looking for in the summer, and it attracts quite a few kids. So that does sound a little bit more on the ambitious end, but just think about your partners and who you have in your community and what you can do creatively to attract kids during the summer. Another thing I just wanted to point out about their site is that they have this great tent with chairs set up outside. If you don't have that resource, they actually have a tent provided by the city, so that wasn't something the library had to purchase. And also, they have an indoor space where kids who feel a little shy or feel a little bit of that stigma can go inside and have an alternative location to eat. And final point about this, you can't quite see it in this picture, but that tent is on their courtyard that's adjacent to a really busy street. So again, it's doing that great project of advertising the service they're providing to the community and really being forward facing so people know what's happening at the library. On the other end, I wanted to share Wareham. They have their library via site this summer for the first time. And this is not as densely populated with the community. And this library, reflecting that population, is only open a few days a week. The public schools that operated the site at the library were open 5 days a week. So this is a good partnership that even if your library is not open all 5 of those days, if you have a green space outside, the sponsor may still be able to provide meals those 5 days. And also with a partnership between Project Bread and the public schools, they were able to revitalize a garden that was adjacent to the library. So you had all the indoor benefits of the library, but you also had a garden that kids were able to use throughout the summer for various activities while receiving that meal. So now I want to turn it over to Stephanie. So I will unmute. And as I said, Palmer had a really great site in their first year. And Stephanie's a fantastic spokesperson for this, so I'd love to turn it over to her. Stephanie, at least on my computer, you're a little quiet, so I don't know if you're far away from your microphone.
Okay, is that better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, sorry, this is my headset. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So this was our first summer, having our summer lunch program, and this is the front of our building. And if we click to the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about how we got started and what we kicked off our program with. Okay, so we, oh, you know what? Let me adjust. Hold on one second. Is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Good. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, So we started our program off with a giant mini golf tournament, which went really, really well. We actually had 200 people cycle through, and this was a great program. And the guy that runs this program is really fantastic. He will come and he's here for hours, and he sets up the entire golf course. And it was indoors and outdoors, and people just loved it. And so we actually got it was relatively reasonable price wise, and we got a sponsor. And this man puts the sponsor's information, business information, on all of the flags at all of the golf holes, and we were able to promote our summer lunch program as well as our summer reading program. So that was great. So if we go to the next slide. So what we did is we started out with 2 days a week. So we did it Wednesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 12:30, and we would have programming on Wednesdays. We would bring performers in. So we had magic shows, puppet shows. That's David Hyde Costello in the top left-hand corner there. He's a local children's book author and artist who's fabulous. And down in the corner we had Dino Man come, and as you can see, he brings giant inflatable dinosaurs. We are lucky and we have a pretty good sized summer reading program every year. I can bring in about 100 to 200 kids for a performance on Wednesday mornings. So this was really perfect for us. So we would have the performance from 10:30 to 11:30, and then we would, and I, in the beginning of the program, I would introduce the performer and I would say, and you guys are all invited to come and have lunch with us after the show. So while the performance was going on, our couple of our staff would go get the food and get everything ready. And then after the performance, and if we switch to the next slide, it gives you a little bit of an idea of what that setup looks like for us. They would leave our community room and they would walk across our town square area to our little kitchen, where we're lucky we have that. We have a good indoor space. We don't have any outdoor space, unfortunately, but we have a really great indoor space. And so they would come get their lunch, and we'd have a couple volunteers who would rearrange that community room while they were waiting, and they would go back in and eat in there and eat in this town square area too. And we were really, really pleased. We averaged about 40 or 50 lunches a day for twice a week for 6 weeks. And we, in the beginning, had hit a tiny roadblock, which was that our the Palmer school systems did not want to participate in this program with us. So we were very, very lucky. The next town over, Munson, had already had a site at their schools, and Project Bread helped us team up with them, which was really fabulous. And Munson schools were very excited and happy to help. So Munson made the food for us. Um, so we needed one staff member to go and get the food, which luckily for us, their school was only about a 5-minute drive from us, very close to right the next town over. And then we would have 2 staff people in that kitchen area, and we had a teen intern who was fabulous. And so they would sort the food and hand out the food and check off how many meals we were eating. And then I had two adult volunteers help me just keep an eye on things, make sure that the food didn't go into the carpeted areas, make sure that the kids and parents stayed in that town square and community room spot there. And it was a really, really great success. And I'm very excited to report that because of this, we got some really great press coverage. And because it was such a success, I've had many people from different organizations approach me. A couple local churches come to me and say, we want to help with this program. We want to expand it. So we're pretty sure that this year we're going to do even more days. So we're probably going to serve lunch 4 days a week this year. And the thing that I'm actually really excited about is that because on Wednesdays we would have a performance, and Thursdays I would have a story time, and then it would be very natural to just say, okay, everybody, let's go have lunch. This is sort of pushing us to freshen up our summer reading program. So we've been doing the same thing over and over and over, every year, which is great. It's very successful. We do really well. But this is now sort of getting the youth services department together and thinking, okay, what can we do? What can we add to get more people to come and to build a program around this lunch so that we can have it on Tuesdays and Mondays too. So that's something I'm really excited about as well. So this was the night before we did it the first time. I was very anxious and nervous, but I have to say it was fabulous. And we bought the only thing that money-wise that we paid for was we bought the coolers, and that was it. That's all it cost us. We were already doing all this programming. We were already trying to get as many kids into the building as possible. So this was just a small add-on. Our lunch program is only an hour after the program, so we only do it from 11:30 to 12:30. But in that time, we were serving 40 to 50 kids. So it was great. And the part about the teen volunteers, which is I want to say that was really helpful too. We have a teen intern, and she was able to help us out, and it was great. And she got a free lunch, and she was very happy about it. And it actually helped with our older kids too to see her there. And we actually have some teen volunteers more this year who asked if they could help out for this summer. So that was really great too. So yeah, I can't stress enough how fabulous this was and how amazing it was for our community. And the reception that we got was so encouraging that I was really proud of this and I was really happy to be part of it. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it.
Great. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I love hearing Stephanie present about their program. We at Project Bread are really approaching this from the child with hunger perspective, but there's so many great programs that you guys are already doing in libraries. So we see it as a fantastic opportunity to expand and help those programs, like some of the stuff that Stephanie is already doing. And also it's really exciting to hear about, because of the meal program, sometimes that's a catalyst to help you expand into areas that you were wanting to expand to anyway, by like expanding your summer reading. So we think that's really, really exciting to hear. If anybody has questions now, you can use that little talk bubble. Otherwise, we'll open up the mics at the end of the call. Now I wanted to give April and Christi from the Mass Library System a chance to share some of the resources that they can provide libraries. And I just wanted to say in this public venue that we are so appreciative of the help and partnership with the Mass Library System. I've learned a lot speaking to all librarians, but MLS has been an invaluable to us, and as a partner so much, Christi, April. So I will unmute you now. Sorry, one moment. Okay, April, you should be unmuted, and I don't think right now I can unmute Christi for some reason.
Okay, well, if Christi can't talk, she was going to go first, but this is April, and until she can be unmuted, I'll just start us off by saying thank you to Leran for those kind words. We are really happy to work with you guys as well, and basically because of that bottom line, that it helps libraries then help families and kids who really need food from communities. So really what we do is we just try to make those connections. So for us, it's a very simple, happy partnership where we get to connect libraries with Project Bread. We let people know about the resources that they have available to them. So if they're not able to become a site for a variety of reasons, sometimes it's just not possible or they're not in an eligible community, but we can direct them to the resources that Project Bread has, like the bookmarks or posters or certain things like that, help people learn about the app that they can tell their families about. Oh, hi, Christi.
Hi.
You want to take it over? I was just talking about sort of how we help.
Yes, I've been able to hear everything. I just couldn't talk, or I was talking and nobody could hear me. Hi, everybody. I'm Christi Farrar. I partner with April at Mass Library System. And just like April was saying, we are here to provide connections for all of you and ideas and resources. We actually pulled together a number, some program ideas and book lists that you can use in programs if you are decided to be a site, and we're happy to share those with you. We also can use our the delivery system to distribute the bookmarks that Leran was mentioning, because even if you decide not to be a site, you can be a really great resource to share information. And so we are happy to be that connection to get the bookmarks to you, in addition to summer reading materials. Also, the summer food program actually goes perfectly with this year's summer reading theme, which is Build a Better World. What better way to build a better world than by feeding kids, right? So it is really a natural connection to what you're already doing in the library for summer programs. And it's just a way to get more kids to come to the library, maybe kids who weren't already coming to your program. So if you're looking for increasing metrics on your attendance and your outcome metrics, this is a really good way to get more kids into your summer reading program, as well as doing amazing things for your community. So, did you have other things to add, April?
I do not, just that we are happy to help. Sometimes too, it's a little bit of like brainstorming, problem solving, just to help people get over maybe a barrier or some hurdle. I also, just because I'm on the line, wanted to say how awesome Stephanie's program is, and it just makes me so happy to hear. I do think it would be scary at first, a little nerve-wracking, and then how wonderful it's all turned out, and then this wonderful benefit of kind of not using it, but discovering how you want to reevaluate your program. I think that is just an amazing sort of unexpected part of this program, how it makes you take a look now what your library is doing in kind of a big picture way. So kudos to Palmer.
Yes, and down at the bottom of the slide is the URL for our summer reading guide. There's a lot of information, resources, books, links. So if you're even if you aren't going to be doing the summer food program, but you're looking for ways of refreshing your programs, definitely take a look at the link. And we are always here. Just email us.
Great, thank you so much. So again, if anybody has questions, I'm going to check that chat box from time to time, so feel free to type in questions there, and we will have an opportunity at the end for more questions. So I wanted to share just a few next steps about the program. I do want to say just throughout this whole process that you don't have to do this alone. What CNOP's here for. We do have some of those great partnerships with MLS. We do work with a couple of national organizations. So anytime you have a question or you think something's going to be a challenge through a program, in most cases we've experienced a similar challenge before at other sites and have found some solutions. So while I go through some of these next steps, if some of it sounds a little daunting, I'm sharing this information just as things for you to consider and to start brainstorming about. But there's several solutions for almost every challenge. So that's why the first step I have here is to contact CNOP, and I have my email address. On the call today, I also have my colleagues Rachel and Rosemarie, who are kind of regional outreach coordinators throughout Massachusetts. So they have worked with a lot more sites than I have, and if I can't get you an answer, then I'm sure one of our partners or one of my colleagues will be able to help as well. So that I suggest as a first step. That way we can start brainstorming some of these other steps and also help get you connected with your local sponsor. But I do want to share just briefly some of these other things to consider. So the first thing is staffing. As I mentioned before, some sponsors are able to provide staff, but as just kind of a initial realistic expectation, think about who else you can recruit as staff. If you have a children's librarian or a teen librarian, or if you're one of these lucky libraries who have both, then having both those individuals trained on how to staff the site is ideal. That way, even if you do recruit an intern or your sponsor is able to provide someone, you'll have a lot of bases covered and people who can fill in case someone's sick or out on vacation. Additionally, think about those meal times. Think about what works for your library when your programming traditionally is. If you can make small adjustments in your programming, great. But we think this program works well to complement your programming. So keep things the way they are, but think about strategically when your mealtime can be as beneficial as possible. And also, again, if you want to do a short meal time, but really, really promote it strongly, or if you want to do a long meal time, that way you have a kind of open window for families to come in to your library and access that meal. Meal storage, this is where we get a little bit more in that kind of scary area, but I assure you that we have a lot of various ways to think about storage. If your sponsor is able to deliver shortly before your meal time, and if they are able to provide coolers, then you might not have much of an issue with this. But like Stephanie said, there might be a very minimal expense of buying 1 or 2 coolers to facilitate your program. If you're in an area where a sponsor may need to deliver several hours earlier, or for any reason the night before, then there is a possibility you'll need to consider purchasing a fridge or having a fridge available for meals. That's something that, again, I encourage you to contact us so we can kind of brainstorm and troubleshoot, but just something for you to keep in mind as you're looking at all the resources you have for this program. Again, storage is also great because if you have back-to-back meal days, some sponsors will allow you to use leftovers to either reduce some of the waste or to provide additional meals the next day. So having some sort of storage is beneficial for that reason as well. Meal location I covered earlier, but wanted to bring up again just to think about logistically what works for your library, but also in terms of optimizing the program, if you're able to find a way to have a meal outside or in a very public-facing location, that is a big benefit in a lot of ways. Programming, again, don't feel the need to add a lot of your new programming, but use the programming you have and find ways, like Stephanie did, to then say, hey, join us for a meal afterward, or come to the library for a story time and we have a meal provided afterward. That also helps a little bit with the stigma of a program. You're not just advertising, you need a meal, come to the library to get a meal. It's more, come to the library for the great services we provide, and then a meal is also available to you. Allies and partners is something to think about throughout this process. That's where you can think about if you need additional programming or help with programming, or you need help finding team volunteers and staff. Think about who else is in your community. This is an opportunity for a lot of libraries to think about new partnerships that maybe they weren't able to make before, but by providing this meal, you might be able to recruit like new church groups to provide volunteers, like happened in Palmer. So this is an exciting opportunity, I think, to make those connections in your community. And then finally, think about outreach. Your sponsor is going to be able to help quite a bit with this. Some sponsors do bulletins and other advertisements at the school at the end of the school year. In some communities, there's radio ads, there's billboards, there's various number of things. But whatever you can do inside your library and in the immediate community, we do something here called Blitz Days, where we canvass the immediate neighborhood of a site or in the community of a sponsor. So we really encourage you considering things like that in your first year and even subsequent years. That way, at least the immediate neighborhood can know about the program. And even if they don't directly need the program, that word of mouth will build and people will know that if kids are hungry during the summer, the library is a resource for them. Finally, as you're speaking with us at CNOP, we'll help you get connected to your sponsor. And your sponsor is going to be able to let you know what they can provide for a lot of these things. And also the sponsor provides trainings for sites. So if you're feeling a little nervous about some of these rules or about the logistics, the sponsor is going to cover all of those things. So we're going to get you in touch with that sponsor, and your sponsor is going to be able to help you locally with the program. And then finally, just going back to the first step, please stay in touch with us. Our program has been around for over 20 years. Most of our staff have experienced this for a few summers. So we're here to help. We're here to troubleshoot anything that comes up, not just with the setting up of a program, but also throughout the summer and as you brainstorm for the next year. So we'd love to hear about your successes. We love to hear about any challenges you're facing. And we're here to amplify those successes through getting you some media attention, working with you throughout the state, and then also helping you address any of those challenges. So I also just wanted to address the question of what if you can't be a site? Maybe you're not in an eligible area, or for some reason your library is just not a good fit. We do think most libraries can be a good fit, but we do acknowledge there are some cases where it's not. You can still support the program. The biggest thing is to promote other nearby sites. I'll show you some of our materials in just a moment. Order materials at no cost through our website. So that includes posters, those bookmarks that we talked about, some flyers. We have like these tear-off pads where you can just have a stack of 50 and tear off one whenever a patron might need information. You can also go to our website closer to the summer, and we'll be advertising this heavily when we have these lists available. You can download a local site list, so that way you can post that in the library or at least have that resource around. So if you think a patron needs this information, it's available for you to share. And in that same vein, you can also promote the Summer Eats app for patrons to be able to find nearby sites. This is especially handy if they are traveling or coming from a town over. They can still use the Summer Eats app to find a meal site closer to them. So that way you don't need to know about all the sites in the state, that they can find sites for themselves. The same goes for the text messaging service that we'll be using, and they can call or go onto our website. So there's a number of different ways you can promote for them to be able to find sites. Additionally, if you can't be a site, you can still provide programming and support for nearby sites. In some communities, we know that libraries have bookmobiles to bring books or library services to other areas in their community. So if you do this, it would be a great opportunity for you to be able to use those services in areas like if a camp or a park is doing a meal site. And also if you're doing any sort of programming that's external to the library, like let's say a story time at a camp, you can see who's doing meals and partner with them. So as we said, programming can be really helpful to destigmatize the program and make people more comfortable coming back day after day. So a lot of those sites are really needing partners for those programming, and I think libraries can be a really great partner for that. So I know I just shared a lot of information. If you have questions, there's my email address. It's a little bit longer, so you can also just write down that second email address, cnop@projectbread. That will go to our entire team, and whoever is most able or available to answer your question will get back to you pretty quickly. You also have my phone number there. So at this point, I'm going to unmute all the lines. If you don't have a question, I do recommend muting yourself so we can more easily hear everyone. And also, if you're not able to use your microphone or feel more comfortable, you can use that talk bubble to type in a question at this time. While people are thinking about questions, I did want to show our website. So this is our kind of online store, and just to reinforce, you can see by most of these things it either says free or $0, because we, through our state contract, can send these materials to anybody in the state without any charge. And provide PDFs out of state if anybody is interested in these materials. And we talked a lot about the bookmarks. I wanted to at least zoom in on that one, and you can see, I don't think this picture does it justice, but we like to think this is quite a attractive bookmark that you can pass out at libraries. So, part of this program is to really get the word out, so you can pass this far and wide. And it has the phone number for finding a site, the text message service, and a reminder about that app. So as April and Christy said, we can explore sending it through MLS, or you can reach out to us and we can send you those bookmarks. So with that, I will again open it up for any questions that might be out there. Okay, well, again, I will thank everyone for being part of the webinar. If you have questions, definitely get in touch with us, and we really appreciate you taking a little bit time out of your morning to share with us and to consider doing this program. We really hope that you'll get involved, and if you're even considering, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but just get in touch with us and we can start brainstorming about how it might look in your local community. And thank you again to MLS and to Stephanie for being part of this call.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, thank you so much.